Hello YouTube, it's Sang here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Today we are reviewing Black Torch volumes 1 through 5, the complete series. And yeah, let's get on with it. So the author of Black Torch is Tsuyoshi Takaki. He has another manga available that is available on the Manga Plus app. It's called Heart Gear. I started reading it. It's pretty interesting. It's a sci-fi series. So if you like Black Torch, go check that out. Now, this is published by Viz. It's a Shonen Jump title, but it's not really in Shonen Jump if I remember correctly. It was either in Jump Plus or something else. I can't remember exactly, but it is published by Viz and it's published in a regular tankobon. However, I read it on the Shonen Jump app, so it's definitely available digitally as well. Now, the demographic here is shonen, obviously. And the genres here are science fiction, supernatural, and action. It really is more of a urban fantasy with sci-fi aspects to it, like power armor. But there's enough scientificness to it that it could be sci-fi. I think it's more of an aesthetic thing more than it is a thematic aspect of the series. So yeah, and as far as I'm aware, it does not have an adaptation, which kind of sucks. This would definitely do well as a single season anime, single core anime, but it didn't seem to be popular enough with the Japanese audience for it to be, put up for an anime. So yeah, now the premise here is basically that this young man who can talk to animals happens to come across this little cat that is, messed up. However, when he tries to heal it, it turns out that this little cat is really not a cat, but rather a mononoke, or a yokai, a monster of Japanese urban legend, I guess, or mythology. And now he's kind of embroiled in this shadow war between Mononoke and humans that he really had no clue about. And the reason why he's embroiled in it is because he happens to bond with his Mononoke. Now we kind of follow him as he tries to figure out, one, why this thing is happening, and two, how he can kind of fix the issues that have come up with his bonding with the Mononoke Rago. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's only 5 volumes, so the story is actually very, very fast. However, it was canceled, so it does feel fast, but it's actually well written. So it's actually kind of interesting that, even though it was canceled, it managed to be, finished properly in a way that is satisfying instead of flailingly, which is pretty interesting because even mangaka that have been doing manga forever really don't have an ability to finish their stories correctly, or maybe have some tampering going on with their stories that causes them to not be able to finish it correctly. So it's interesting that this one that was canceled was actually able to do so. But let's actually get into the review here. So the plotline is relatively simple but well executed. It's just a cool knuckleheaded guy, kind of like Ichigo, who just kind of wants to do things the way he wants to, and so he has to kind of go through these different levels of authority, and he just ignores them, and he kind of just does whatever in order to kind of figure out what he's what he wants to do. And what he wants to do is basically just figure out a way to live his life how he wants. He just wants to be free and peaceful and enjoy his life, but because of circumstance he's not able to, so he's just gonna punch his way through dealing with these things so that he can finally rest easy. So it's actually quite interesting. It really isn't that much of a shonen protagonist with a dream that he needs to accomplish for some deep philosophical connection to some aspect of his lack of identity or anything like that. It really is just this kind of regular guy that doesn't want to deal with BS, and he only knows how to fight, so that's how he's going to deal with the fact that there's a bunch of BS in his life. So it's pretty cool, and there's an interesting emphasis on the main character's connection with this Mononoke that kind of provides a little bit more depth to the plot line. So it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really nice. Now, in terms of characters, probably the most interesting aspect, which is pretty cool and quite interesting because there really wasn't that much time to make character work happen. So the fact that I find them quite interesting is actually quite good. So we have Jiro Azuma, who's the main character. He's like the cool guy. He's a knucklehead. He's only cool in the sense that like he knows who he is and he's happy with who he is. And so he does things the way he wants, and he doesn't really care about what other people think of him. I think he's a very nice, interesting character. A slight variation from the standard shonen protagonist. More in line with something like Ichigo from Bleach than he is something like Naruto or Luffy, or any of the other big Shonen Jump guys. So it's pretty interesting. I like him a lot. Now there's Rago, the little cat Mononoke, who actually happens to be an immensely super powerful creature because that's a thing that Japanese manga likes to do. This comedy subversion aspect of like the strongest person is a lolly, or the strongest monster is this cute little cat and stuff like that. It's kind of just funny, I guess. So they kind of do it. And then we have the rest of the organization known as Black Torch, which is a 5-man squad made up of Jiro, the leader called Shiba, Ichika, and Reiji, who are Jiro's colleagues, and then the administrative individual whose name is Usami. And so they make a Black Torch, and they're under the heading of this organization of basically like James Bond, MI6 type of people, but for the Japanese government, which is pretty cool. And then there's also Jiro's grandpa, who is the guy that taught Jiro how to be a ninja, essentially. So it's pretty interesting. Now, all of these characters are cool and interesting, and there's quite a few, interesting developments between them. But the most interesting character is the villain, who's Amagi. It's another Mononoke, someone who knows Rago rather intimately, and who has this very interesting philosophical aspect to him. He believes that strength is the ultimate reason why, like, how do I explain this? He thinks that power is derived from strength. The person that has the most strength is the person that has the most power, whether that's physical, economic, any other variation of power, political, is due specifically to the strength of the person. And he wants Rago as part of him because Rago is the strongest Mononoke. But along the way, he notices that Rago and Jiro are connected, and so he wants Jiro as well. Eventually, this kind of comes into conflict, and of course, he gets defeated, but his defeat actually proves his point, that the strong win and the strong prevail, and the strong are the ones that decide what is right and what is wrong. And so he's not a villain necessarily because of his ideology, because his ideology proved to be true, but rather because of the way he goes about acquiring his ideology, or the way he goes about acting because of his ideology. So it's very, very interesting. I actually really like that sort of villain, that kind of villain that is right, but not in the way that they're going about it. So I really like that a lot. I think he was really, really good. Now, in terms of world building here, it's not that much, but it is very solid. There's Mononoke. They explain what they are and how they differ from yokai. And then they explain how each Mononoke has different powers and how they were worshipped and revered, and what kind of caused the Mononoke to become evil in the modern day and stuff like that. And then there's also these like ninja people who happen to be people that were trained to fight the Mononoke. But however, since Mononoke started to dwindle, that kind of went away, and now these ninja people are actually kind of a secret service for Japanese military and the Japanese government. But Black Torch is still like the Mononoke division, but there's only 5 of them because it's not a very important thing. But because of this resurgence in Mononoke violence and political situation, Black Torch has to step up, right? So it's very interesting, very cool. I really enjoyed the world building and the character building, and just everything about the series just was wonderful. And including all of these wonderful things is the art, or included in all of these wonderful things is the art. And that's kind of like the linchpin. Like, everything about this is awesome, but if it had bad art, I think it would have been way less enjoyable. However, thankfully, Tsuyoshi Takaki is a great artist. I really love his style. His character design is really good, and I really like that he has this touch of sketchiness to his work. It kind of has a very nice vibe to it. It kind of provides a finished product, but also kind of shows this kind of development of the characters, because most of the characters that are kind of scratchy also happen to be the ones that are still kind of trying to grow and develop, and most of the characters that are very refined looking are the ones that are much more adult and kind of set in their ways. And it's also very interesting that the scratchy, sketchy style allows for these Mononoke and these attacks of these characters to look way amazing, very interesting and intricate and detailed in a very beautiful way. Also, the character designs are just great. Everyone in Black Torch is very nice, very attractive looking. And the Mononoke are very interesting. All of them are kind of different and cool. And you can definitely see some kind of influence here from Naruto and from Bleach, which I think is pretty cool. But the style itself is very, very specific to this mangaka. And if you look at Heart Gear, you can see that this is his style generally, so it's very, very good. Yeah, I love the art a lot. Now, in terms of fan service, I think there's a bit, but it really isn't necessarily like naked people showing off their nakedness or anything like that. It rather is more like framing of certain panels, or kind of like attractive character design to show off, you know, the beautiful female form or the, you know, very masculine musculature of some of these characters. It really isn't like over the top at all, but there is some elements of fan service here if you pay attention to that. So I really don't think that this is enough fan service to really be a problem for anyone, but it really depends on the person. So yeah, now in terms of rating, this is a 5 out of 5. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Such a quick read since there's only 19 chapters, although each chapter feels immensely long because it's about 2 or 3 times as long as regular Shonen Jump chapters, since they're like 40 pages and up. So it's very, very cool. I don't actually know what the schedule this was on, but it's probably a monthly schedule if it was only 40 pages per chapter. So overall, just, it's amazing. It's wonderful. It was such a great read. I really hate that it was canceled or that it finished, that, you know, whatever the case was. I'm quite sad that that's the case, because this had a lot of potential. This could have been very, very amazing. And in fact, it was actually really amazing, even though it was, you know, cut short. So it would have been really nice to kind of see more of it. But as far as I understand it, the mangaka, even though he's working on another series right now, and he has some serious health issues, so maybe it's you know, for the best that he's really not focused on making manga right now. He needs to heal up and kind of get better. So yeah, I definitely recommend this title. And I think that if you like things like Bleach or Blue Exorcist, you'll probably like Black Torch. And I say those two specifically because they more or less are like the things that Black Torch most resembles. In terms of like the character work, it kind of feels like Bleach. And in terms of how some of the characters have their designs, it also kind of feels like Bleach. But in terms of like standard kind of like world building, I think that Blue Exorcist is a little bit more similar. We have a main character with, you know, vaguely spiky hair, who has a kind of samurai ninja aesthetic, and who happens to be friends with a cat Mononoke. So, I mean, it kind of feels like Blue Exorcist, but it also has this kind of cool guy aesthetic, this kind of interesting character that doesn't really have this overarching Shonen Jump protagonist vibe to him, but rather just wants to protect his friends and live an easy life, kind of like Ichigo. So Blue Exorcist and Bleach are the two kind of main things that are similar to this. Of course, you can also say that other stuff by him is going to be similar, but I don't really know that Heart Gear is really that similar to this, because that is mostly a science fiction series. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, see you guys later. you.